This is Earl Amin with the 2020 Foresight Podcast, where CEOs of companies share their insights. It is 6 questions in 9 minutes because top CEOs know how to listen and be concise. So let's get to it. Question number one. In just a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Ben Baldanza. I grew up in a small upstate New York town delivering newspapers, and that taught me almost everything I needed to learn about business, but I didn't know it at the time. I eventually became the CEO of Spirit Airlines from 2005 to 2016. That was my most recent CEO role where I transformed the company and brought the company public. I now serve on several different corporate boards where I can help companies in that way and also play the role of mentor to some of their CEOs.
Outstanding. Question number two. What's the best thing about being the CEO?
I think the best thing about being a CEO is that you can fly high and low. And what I mean by that is you can think about large strategic issues. How is my company positioned? How do I compete against maybe larger or better capitalized competitors? How can I disrupt my industry or not be disrupted by somebody else? But you can also think
Hmm,
about, what did I spend last month? What do my payables look like? What does my accounts receivable look like? You can look at the fine level of detail. Early in my career, I worked at American Airlines, and the CEO was Bob Crandall. And I went to one of his conferences where he spoke to a lot of people. And he looked in the front of the room and he pointed at someone. He said, "This is Bob. He's the station manager at Oklahoma City for us. Bob, how much did you spend last month in your station on rags?" And everybody sort of took a gasp, and he said, "I'm telling all of you, if you run a station and you don't know how much you spend on rags, you don't know enough about your station." And as the CEO, he thought like that, but he also thought about, where do airplanes we fly and where do we fly them? And so I think that being a CEO allows you to work with great people, pick great teams, and drive processes and strategy, but also be involved in the detail too.
excellent response. Question number three. I hear from other CEOs that leading their team and seeing the road ahead can be difficult. What are your thoughts on that?
It absolutely can be difficult, and having a team that works together is really, really important. I have a son today, and I've been telling him since he was very young, it's not just good enough to be busy, you have to be busy doing the right things. So how we spend our time and how we keep ourselves busy is really important. And in businesses, that's critically important. And so a lot of my time as the CEO of Spirit was spent walking around the building and making sure my finance team and my operating team and my IT team and my marketing team all saw the company's issues in the same kind of way, and we're all rowing together. One of the challenges that companies have is when you have different departments or different divisions who define success in different ways. So, one way to be successful in driving people, even though it is very challenging, is to have a very common measurement of success, a very clear definition of success, and tie the way you train people and the way you compensate people to those measures of success. And when everybody sees the mountain the same way, they're able to attack that mountain much more efficiently.
Question number four. What piece of insight do you want to share with other CEOs? I think you just did that, but go right ahead.
Well, what I will say is, stay really humble and recognize that you want people around you who are a lot smarter than you. I mean, if
Mm,
I knew as much as my CFO about finance, he or she's probably not the right person for that job, right? So surrounding yourselves with people who are smarter than you, who have a diverse set of experiences to you in both life and work history before they came to be part of your team, makes a stronger team. So don't be scared of what you don't know. Embrace what you don't know and find people to help you grow in areas you don't know. And I think the CEOs who aren't as effective as those who are ones who think they know the answer rather than looking and trying to build a really good, diverse team under them to help come up with what really are going to be the right answers for the customers, the shareholders, and the employees of the company.
Excellent. Ben, what other successful CEOs like yourself would you like to acknowledge and should be on my podcast?
Well, there are three answers I have to that question. One is Bill Franke, and Bill Franke was essentially my mentor as when I was the CEO at Spirit. Bill has been CEO of multiple companies in his career. He now runs a private equity group. But working for Bill, I was able to call him and talk to him and rely on his CEO background to help understand how I should deal with personnel issues, strategy issues, corporate issues, media issues, all kinds of things. So Bill was terrific for that. Another is Gordon Bethune. Gordon Bethune was a very transformational leader at Continental Airlines. Gordon could speak to mechanics on the ramp in the morning, and be in the boardroom in the afternoon, and be on TV at night, and be perfect in all of those settings. And he was really good at helping teach me as a leader in his organization about how to stay prioritized and how to keep things focused so that you're focused on the right things. And the last person I'd mention is someone who I'm working with right now. His name's Robert Peterson, and he's the CEO of a moving company called All My Sons in Dallas, Texas. And Bobby is one of the most dynamic, aggressive leaders I've ever met. And the reason I want to bring him up is you would think when the pandemic hit, so many companies were hurt by this. And what Bobby said is, we're in a business that doesn't have to be hurt by this. And he challenged all his people to say, how do we work through this and how do we change ourselves if we need to be successful? And All My Sons has been very successful during the pandemic because of his very, very strong leadership. Bobby, I think, would be a terrific guest on your podcast.
Thank you. Now for the final question, question number 6. How do you celebrate a win?
That's a wonderful question. And there's nothing better to celebrate a win than having others recognize their contribution to that win. So wins are big things, and wins are important for everyone who is involved, directly or even tangentially, to feel the energy that comes from that win. Because we all have setbacks as well in business. So when there's a win, you want everyone who's involved in that to know, and you want the people who weren't involved to know these are the people who made it happen. A win for a company is not the CEO's win. It's the team's win, and it's the company's win. And it has to be put in that kind of context to really get the energy that you should from it.
Excellent. Ben, it's a great pleasure having you on today. How can people find you?
Thank you, Earl. They can find me by going to my website, which is Diemacher LLC. That's spelled DIEMACHER LLC.com. That has all my contact information available. You can also go to my LinkedIn profile. Just search for my name, Ben Baldanza.
Outstanding. This is Earl Amin with the 2024 Site Podcast. For more insights, go to LinkedIn and search for The Gray Owl Company. Ben, it's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
It's been terrific to be with you, Earl. Thank you very much.